Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television, our community connected. Thanks for watching, and thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall. We're at Fort Hays State University at Gross Memorial Coliseum, where on the day that we are doing our reporting here, the Special Olympics are set to begin. Well, following Special Olympics will be other activities, of course, centering on Gross Memorial Coliseum. You probably have certainly followed the voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers and the Hays Larks, Gerard Welbrock. But there's another voice of the Tigers and the Hays Larks that we'd like to have you meet today, and that's Ken Windholz, who is the public address announcer for the Fort Hays State Tiger football and basketball program and the Hays Larks. Now, Ken is normally an outpatient psychotherapist with High Plains Mental Health Center. Has been for 40 plus years, I think, now, Ken.
Pretty close to 4 decades, yeah, long time.
So this is quite a stretch then from psychotherapy work at High Plains Mental Health Center to public address announcer.
Sometimes I think it couldn't probably be more different. And I welcome that. I welcome the divergent activities. It's a great way to restock and sort of redevelop myself, and each has its own great merits. And the strange thing is, strange to some people, I do see some interplay between the two activities.
Oh, well, you got to explore that further with us.
You know, it's interesting that in sports announcing, it's about teams. Teams obviously are comprised of individuals. We don't probably give a lot of attention to individuals in the team concept. But when I'm doing psychotherapy, it is entirely focused on the individual, their unit, their context. Mm-hmm. I feel it's pretty much the same way when I'm doing sports commentary or even watching a sport, as I watch the individual within their context. And it's an intriguing bit of human behavior, sports is. And of course, all human behavior fascinates me, and sports is one of those elements.
You've been at this, you've just completed what, 14 years now?
I just have. Got started back in 1999, actually.
How did that come about?
Well, I followed Ken Billinger. Some folks may remember Ken. Was a radio personality locally here.
Dr. Ken Charles.
That's right. KJLS, when KJLS was still located down near Main Street in Hays. And so Ken was moving on in his career. I happened to meet him in the gym one evening, and he told me he'd be moving. I said, well, my gosh, who's going to be doing your job at Fort Hays? And it was an honest inquiry. I wasn't trying to interview or buck for a job. I just asked, and he said, well, I don't know who. Are you interested? I thought, I can't imagine doing something. It might be kind of fun. You know, I'd done some of this in high school and always been interested in speech and oratory, and thought maybe it might be an interesting thing. Well, who do I check with, Ken? He gave me a couple of names of folks here at Fort Hays to give a call, and I did, and spoke with Jack Kustemeyer, and asked if Jack wanted me to do an interview. And he said, well, you know, we really haven't found anyone yet, so I don't know if we need an audition from you, but can you do basketball? And I said yes. And I'd never done a basketball game in my life prior to that. But I'd done plenty of baseball games. And he said, we need someone for football too, I think. I said, well, sure. Never done a football game either. But when I showed up, my preparation was way over the top, and I had myself very worked up. And after about the first quarter, the first half of the first football game I ever did, I kind of settled into it and really thought about what a great time, what a great energy, and what great fun this was. And that, of course, transferred over to the basketball season. It's just been nonstop since. I really enjoy every single game. I think I've missed maybe 3 games over all of these years, and just enjoy all of that activity and the people. And
I think that comes through, Ken. When we're listening to you, it really comes through.
Well, thank you.
As listeners, you know.
Sure. Well, life is a great thing. It's a privilege to live life. It's a privilege to be involved in life in good ways like this. And so I think sports is one of those great celebrations of life. And I guess my intention in adopting a style, so to speak, and doing public address is to kind of elevate the activity, not to take it over necessarily, not to do one-upsmanship on it, but to enhance it, to make it more enjoyable for the fan, for the observer, kind of celebrate the activity.
Well, believe me, it's working, because with your commentary, with the pep band in place, it really elevates the overall experience, I think, which is really what we as spectators, really enjoy about.
Well, it's a wonderful thing to hear, Mike. I really appreciate that. But we referred to it just a couple of years ago. And this has been a process, by the way, here at Fort Hays that's been developing over time. The interaction between the pep band and the canned music that we use and the voiceover and so forth has really been a work in progress. And I so much enjoy all of the people that I meet here. And I hope the feeling is mutual. But boy, everybody shows up at the top of their game and very enthusiastic about what they do, and it makes for an overall good entertainment package, I think.
Did you play sports as a child?
I did. We lived and breathed baseball in the summer and football in the fall and basketball for as long as that would take us. I participated through middle school and even entered into high school as an athlete. I intended to be a Major League Baseball player, as a matter of fact, when I was in the 7th and 8th grade. Those plans came up short fairly quickly. Reality hit, because I certainly couldn't hit, so reality came to bear. And I guess I became more of a casual fan, more of a spectator as my high school years went on. I had other interests. I was a musician in those days, still am. Enjoyed playing in the band, but it was always, my interest in sports was always the excitement. I just loved the buzz of it and the feel of
You're still drumming?
Competition. I still drum. I play fairly regularly, almost anyone that calls, and enjoy that a great deal too.
I know that Gerard Welbrock spends endless hours on his prep work for the radio broadcasts, and I'm sure you must do the same for the public address announcements, which work much the same way.
Well, yes. I mentioned that the first season. I think I over-prepared. But I'm in a frame of mind right now. I don't think you can be too prepared. I often have information and material that I never use because I want to be secure in what I'm trying to present and the way I'm trying to do it. Plus, it's my fascination with the sport. I like to look up the stats and understand what the players are doing. Even though I never comment on those kind of things, it's not the role of a public address announcer. But it gives me a sense of the accomplishments of that given athlete. I try my best to show respect to the opponent. Don't speak down to them in any sort of way. Don't ridicule by any means. But I really try to laud and try to elevate the home team as much as I can. I get great help from the sports information office here at Fort Hays. Ryan Prickett and his staff are tremendous in terms of making information available. And you wouldn't think that public address announcer needs to know all of these kind of things, but I think it adds to the overall picture, and it certainly boosts my enthusiasm. And if I can channel that vocally in some way, then job done.
And often you can include some of those little factoids in the commentary itself.
Absolutely, and usually being fed those kind of things. Kate Lehman, one of the Lady Tiger basketball players, had a nearly unfathomable feat this this past basketball season, in that she achieved not one but two triple doubles in terms of blocked shots, in terms of rebounds and points scored. That's a gargantuan effort. That's a tremendous effort. So we have moments like that when we like to bring attention to an individual player, where someone breaks a record that's been standing for 20, 25 years or 30 years. That's a great thing. Or someone comes back, we had Herb Stang here, for example, earlier this season. Herb played in the 1962-63 era in that vicinity for Fort Hays over in the old Sheridan Coliseum, the Snake Pit. And I remember him playing as a little boy. It was great to see him back this past season. So get information like that and be able to acknowledge someone from past years.
Talk about how you've refined your own personal touch and what you bring to the commentary, Ken.
It's a great question, and I don't know that I've thought about that very much. I try to translate the enthusiasm of the sport through inflection, sometimes through volume, through just nuances. I don't know that I did that at first. When I first got into doing PA work, I know that my voice was kind of over the top. I would, the high volume would be very high, those kind of things. And I'd listened to plenty of public address announcers and thought, it's kind of an annoying thing. And if you can keep it in some kind of a range, it works well. What I've tried to do is to adapt to a given player. I maybe don't introduce each player the same way, but I maybe try to add something verbally or in terms of inflection that reflects somehow the accomplishments of that player. Jake Stoppel, I might introduce Jake Stoppel, for example, one of the Fort Hays basketball players, in a different way than I would introduce Craig Nicholson, because they each play different roles on the team. A thought that just occurs to me is that in the old days of public address, I think, it was pretty much a perfunctory kind of a obligatory process. It just, the player, then the number and what he's doing. Shooting two at the free throw line, leave it at that. Or up to bat now, number 27, and leave it at that. Going back to the days of Bob Lowen, for example, who was a public address announcer here at Fort Hays. I remember a season when Fort Hays had a player, the name of Cesar Fantuzzi. And Bob had great fun with that name, Cesar Fantuzzi, that kind of thing. And I thought, that's the way you're supposed to do this. You put some depth into that, some volume, some round the sound out. Ken Billinger did a lot of the same thing with the national championship team in the 1996 season. And I think what I hope I've done is to take that and build even that much more. And it's almost like a carnival barker, but something that just tries to draw the crowd in an enthusiastic way. Yeah.
And we'll be looking or listening for the next round with the Hays Larks this coming summer.
We're doing Hays Larks this summer. Can't wait. It's a great program. One of the great things about that one, at least from a public address standpoint, is that I get to do the music at the same time. So it's more of a kind of a one-person act. You get to intersperse the music at various times throughout the game. Try to make that an entertaining thing too. Baseball has a very different rhythm than football does, which is very different than what basketball is. And it's important, I think, to stay attuned to those individual rhythms in a given sport.
Ken Windholz, public address announcer for the Fort Hays State Tigers football and basketball, and the Hays Larks from Gross Memorial Coliseum and our Community Connection. Thanks for watching.